A survey published in the leading science journal of that time, Nature, conclusively displayed this. A 1998 survey based on a self-selected sample of biological and physical scientists of the National Academy of Sciences in the United States found that 7% believed in the existence of God. 7%. 72.2% did not. And 20.8% were agnostic or had doubts. And that was in 1998. Most leading scientists are atheists that don't believe in our Creator. By that point alone, it should raise alarm bells for everyone that holds science on this great pedestal. An interesting fact to know is before the 17th century, science was known as natural philosophy. Science is a more modern term. People make claims that because God created everything, He created science too. And so this is why we should embrace it. Yes, God did create everything. He made everything perfectly and wonderfully. He made the water. He made our plants and animals. In His word, He never taught us how to use these things or how He even made them and why. He told us that He made these things for us and we should use them. But science goes deeper than what God has said and has decided to show us the way of doing things ourselves without God. And if we do not like God's way, we have found our own way to bypass it. This idea has been subtly promoted to us over time. Think of all these end-time movies about coming destruction. Whether it was a meteor coming to wipe everyone out, or a climate change event, or aliens coming down. Whatever the event, the movie showed humanity with the tools to finally prevent God's wrath. What we do not recognize is that this is Satan's way of promoting his thousands-year-old scheme. That he gave the first one-world government in Samaria under Nimrod. The Tower of Babel was created so that man could save themselves and protect themselves from God's wrath, if he ever decided to flood the earth again. Many people have heard of the Tower of Babel, but they don't realize that they built the tower to challenge our Creator. And science has been developing and growing over these thousands of years to create many different examples of the Tower of Babel, showing that we can do things to protect ourselves from God's wrath, making bunkers, fake spaceships, etc. The truth is, the only way of removing us from God's wrath is by submitting to Him and abiding in Him, by following Him. Science was always against our Creator. If we go back to the time of the ancient Greeks, the Israelites said that God created the earth and everything in it. But Aristotle, one of the most important natural philosophers during that time, said that the world must have existed from eternity, challenging the belief that God created the heavens and the earth. In the 17th century, a new movement began that challenged the view that those who held faith in Messiah had. This was the scientific revolution.
What we now call science emerged about 400 years ago through the work of a group of European thinkers who discovered new ways of interpreting the world. They no longer relied on the delivered word of God. The scientific revolution put individual curiosity, inquiry, reason, and experiment above religious dogma. To my mind, science is quite simply the biggest challenge that Christianity will ever have to face.
During the period of the Renaissance, the rising power of science was growing, and the Catholic Church, who were another group desperate to hold on to control, they led a silencing campaign of these scientists and movement. This created a controlled war of ideals, where both sides were actually working for the same God, but just wanted belief in him to come in a different way. It was their white magic versus black magic. Scientists were destroyed for questioning the authority of the Catholic Church. Nicholas Copernicus argued that the Earth was a planet orbiting the Sun. Christians during this time rightfully believed that the Earth was stationary and the Sun and Moon revolved around it. Copernicus planted a seed of doubt against the Church, who claimed to be the ultimate authority, not able to be questioned. Copernicus started the real doubt, and other natural philosophers, scientists, took his theory further, like Giordano Bruno, who believed that not only was there other planets, but there were living things on these planets. Because of the Inquisition and the Church declaring that anyone that held another view besides what they taught were heretics worthy of death, Bruno was sentenced to death and burned, and this was a major spark in the battle between what they declare as faith versus reason. Galileo Galilei introduced the telescope building on Copernicus's theory. They claim him as the first astronomer to base his theory on evidence. Then, in the 18th century, we had people like the Grand Master of the Priory of Sion, Isaac Newton, who introduced his enlightenment and his law of physics. This was all esoteric knowledge that was being brought into the light, which is why it was the period of enlightenment. When Benjamin Franklin invented the lightning rod, it was looked at as a way of stopping God's wrath. Before his time, churches would get burned and struck down by lightning. When this happened, it would devastate communities because they felt somebody must have done something wrong and provoked God's wrath. When Benjamin Franklin put up the lightning rod, it was perceived as a way of stopping God's wrath. 1859, Darwin published On the Origin of Species, which suggested that life on Earth was not designed by God, but had evolved through a process called natural selection. His theory canceled out the theory that we were made in God's image, and supported that we were also came with the theory of the survival of the fittest, in which this scientific theory became the basis point of the elite class of families that thought their wealth and power gave them a right to rule.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Stop